In the shadowy corners of history, there are tales as dark and twisted as the mind of a man who would blackmail a star as bright as Elvis Presley. One such tale involves a man named Johannes Griessel-Landau, whose actions against the king of rock and roll are etched in the files of the FBI, creating a chilling chapter in Presley's otherwise illustrious career. This is a story of greed, deception, and the lengths one would go to exploit the fame and fortune of a musical icon. In the aftermath of Elvis's military service in Germany, a disturbing chapter unfolded. Elvis, having served his country honorably, returned to find himself entangled in a web of blackmail. It began with Johannes Griessel-Landau, who posed as a doctor and skin specialist. This man, with a deceitful smile, approached Elvis in Bad Nauheim, Germany, promising treatments that would enhance his appearance. Little did Elvis know he had stepped into a trap. Griessel-Landau started by treating Elvis, using his quarters as the stage for these suspicious skin treatments. It wasn't long before things took a deeply unsettling turn. Griessel-Landau made homosexual advances toward Elvis's friends, revealing a dark side to this man who claimed to heal with his touch. Elvis, feeling betrayed and embarrassed, decided to end these sessions, but not before confronting Griessel-Landau about his improper behavior. The confrontation was explosive. Griessel-Landau, enraged and feeling exposed, threatened to ruin Elvis's career. He claimed to possess compromising photographs and recordings of Elvis in vulnerable moments, threats that could shatter the image of the clean-cut heartthrob. Faced with these threats, Elvis made a difficult decision. He agreed to pay Griessel-Landau $200 for the treatments already received and an additional $315 for a plane ticket to London. But this was just the beginning of the ordeal. Griessel-Landau, far from disappearing, returned demanding more money. He asked for $2,000 under the pretense of covering losses from a closed practice in South Africa. Elvis, though shaken, complied, handing over the cash. This act of submission did little to calm Griessel-Landau, who continued to push for more, exploiting every ounce of Elvis's fear and desire to keep his private life hidden from the public. As the situation escalated, the FBI became involved. Major Warren H. Metzner of the FBI's investigations branch took charge of the case. The Bureau treated this matter with the utmost sensitivity, aware of Elvis's status and the potential fallout from publicizing the incident. They worked discreetly, using Elvis's own words and actions to navigate the complex situation. In his reports, Metzner detailed Griessel-Landau's threats and the psychological games he played on Elvis. The FBI gathered evidence, including letters from Griessel-Landau to Elvis and his secretary, which revealed the depth of the blackmail scheme. These documents, carefully preserved, showed Griessel-Landau's attempts to manipulate Elvis, pushing him to the brink of despair. As 1964 dawned, Elvis faced another scare. A postal card arrived at his Memphis address, bearing chilling words, "You will be next on my list." The card, sent from Huntsville, Alabama, mentioned not just Elvis but also other prominent figures, including Johnny Cash, Lyndon Baines Johnson, and George C. Wallace. The FBI, aware of the potential threat to national security, treated this seriously, though they couldn't pinpoint the sender. This wasn't the first time Elvis faced threats. Years earlier, a similar card had reached his father, Vernon, with ominous messages that had the FBI and the Secret Service on high alert. The 1964 card, however, added a new layer of concern due to the specific threats against high-ranking officials. Throughout these ordeals, the FBI worked tirelessly to protect Elvis and the broader public. They analyzed the postal card, searching for any clues that could lead to the sender. However, the card lacked any distinguishing features that would immediately identify its source, making the investigation challenging. Elvis's father, Vernon, played a key role in bringing the threats to light, handing over the card to the FBI in Memphis. The Bureau's response was swift, with the Memphis office sharing information with the Secret Service to ensure the safety of not just Elvis but also other targeted individuals. As the case unfolded, it became clear that Griessel-Landau was more than just a disgruntled blackmailer. His actions reflected a deeper psychological disturbance, marked by erratic behavior and delusions of grandeur. The FBI's reports painted a picture of a man who saw Elvis as both a means to financial gain and a target to be psychologically broken. Despite the intensity of these threats, Elvis Presley remained resilient. He navigated these dark waters, paying the extortionist and eventually cutting ties, though not without scars. The FBI's discreet handling of the situation ensured that the details remained largely private, protecting Elvis from further public embarrassment. This episode in Elvis's life serves as a stark reminder of the shadows that can lurk even in the brightest of careers. It highlights the lengths to which individuals will go when driven by greed and a thirst for power. The FBI's work in protecting Elvis and uncovering the truth behind these threats stands as a testament to their dedication to safeguarding public figures and maintaining order in a world where fame can be both a blessing and a curse. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, found himself in an unusual situation. He wanted to connect with the FBI, one of the most powerful law enforcement agencies in the United States. In late 1970, he expressed a wish to tour the FBI headquarters and meet with its then director, J. Edgar Hoover. This request traveled through the FBI system and reached Hoover's desk. The FBI kept detailed records known as bufiles on individuals like Presley. These files showed that Presley had faced several extortion attempts, which the FBI had looked into. At the time, he was also caught up in a paternity suit in Los Angeles. Despite his immense popularity in the late 1950s and early 1960s, Presley faced public criticism for his performance style. However, his files showed no arrests. J. Edgar Hoover, however, was not impressed. In a brief note, he expressed doubts about meeting Presley. Hoover's response to Presley's request was curt, essentially rejecting it. Despite this, 2 years later, President Richard Nixon met Presley at the White House and even gave him a federal narcotics badge. This situation raises questions about the treatment of public figures by law enforcement and the government. Why did Hoover dismiss Presley's request while another prominent figure, Nixon, was given special treatment? It highlights the complexities of public perception and personal biases in positions of power. Around the same time, a connection was made between Presley and William N. Morris, a former sheriff from Tennessee. Morris had contacted FBI offices about arranging a tour and meeting with the director for Presley. Morris had a good relationship with the FBI during his time as sheriff and had even hosted FBI agents at the FBI National Academy. However, the FBI's response was cautious. While they agreed to arrange a tour, they made it clear that the director would not meet Presley. The FBI's files noted that Presley had faced extortion attempts and was involved in a paternity suit, which might explain the cautious approach. They also mentioned Presley's changing image, noting his long hair and exotic clothing, which drew criticism from the public and press. Despite this, Presley had been working on initiatives to help young people, particularly in discouraging drug use. The situation took another turn when President Nixon, a known police enthusiast, learned that Presley had received a federal narcotics badge. Nixon, who collected badges and supported police associations, reached out to the FBI to see if there were other ways he could be associated with law enforcement. This interaction shows how even high-profile figures can navigate the complexities of receiving special treatment from government agencies. The mention of a paternity suit brings up the serious personal matters Presley was dealing with during this period. Such legal issues could impact a public figure's reputation and personal life significantly. The FBI's files also hint at past public criticism of Presley's performance style, illustrating how artists often face scrutiny beyond their art. In examining these events, it's clear that interactions between celebrities, law enforcement, and government officials are often influenced by a mix of public image, personal biases, and the complexities of the legal system. The case of Elvis Presley and his encounters with the FBI and President Nixon serve as a fascinating glimpse into this dynamic. In August 1970, Elvis Presley, the famous singer and actor, found himself in the middle of a mysterious situation in Las Vegas. An anonymous caller claimed to have information about a planned kidnapping of Elvis during his stay at the International Hotel. This caller, who said his name was Jim Reeds, told security guards he had met two men at a party for Elvis, and these men were planning to kidnap him for a twisted purpose. The caller wanted to tip off the security team but assured them he wouldn't help with the kidnapping. This call set off alarms, but no concrete evidence linked anyone to the threat. Soon after, another unsettling call came in. This time, it was to Elvis's wife's confidant. The caller claimed Elvis would be kidnapped the following night and even said a madman with a silencer would shoot him. This caller demanded $50,000 for information about the supposed killer, who apparently felt wronged by Elvis a year earlier. Although the FBI and local authorities took these threats seriously, no further calls were made and the situation did not escalate. Meanwhile, an interesting and complex case involving Elvis's own Lockheed Jetstar airplane began to unfold in 1977. Elvis owned this plane but rarely used it, which meant it wasn't bringing in money. His father, Vernon Presley, decided to lease it out to make some cash. He contracted with a company called Air Cargo Express to upgrade and sell the plane, then lease it back to Elvis and the company. This plan, however, was riddled with problems. Frederick N.P. Pro, working for Air Cargo Express, wrote checks to cover the upgrades, but these checks bounced because they had insufficient funds. This raised red flags. The FBI and the Department of Justice got involved when it became clear that this plan was a setup for fraud. Pro's actions, along with others, involved illegal wire communications aimed at defrauding Elvis and his associates out of money. The case became very complicated. Pro had initially worked with a law firm in Memphis, represented by Charles H. Davis, who had a long history with the Presley family. However, due to Davis's health issues, another lawyer, D. Beechler Smith, took over. Smith discovered that the plane, registered as N777KP, had a huge debt of over $600,000 to the American National Bank in New Jersey. Despite this, the plane wasn't being used for Elvis's business, making the payments pointless. Efforts to sell the plane also failed. The investigation revealed that Pro had used fake checks to cover some of the costs for plane upgrades. He even tried to create a false impression of financial stability by having a company in England claim the plane's account had over $500,000, which was completely fabricated. When the truth came out, it showed a web of deceit involving multiple fraudulent schemes. The FBI's involvement deepened as they uncovered how Pro and others had attempted to defraud Elvis and his team through wire communications. They were charged with interstate transportation of stolen property and fraud by wire, showing just how serious these crimes were. In the end, this case highlighted the dangers of fraud and the importance of vigilance in business dealings, even for celebrities. For Elvis Presley, it meant not only a harrowing experience with a kidnapping threat, but also a tangled web of financial troubles with his prized possession, the Jetstar. The case concluded with several individuals facing legal consequences, serving as a reminder of the complexities and risks involved in high-profile business transactions. This incident in Elvis's life, while not directly related to his music or performances, shows a different side of his reality, a world where danger and deceit could lurk even in the bright lights of Las Vegas. It serves as a cautionary tale about trust and the importance of careful financial management, especially for those in the public eye.